वे है पतरातू, जो रामगढ़ जिले की एक दर्शनीय जगह है।
Hello and welcome to our special broadcast, PM Modi in Ghana, India's Africa Connect.
Yes, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Ghana on a two-day visit to that West African nation, and today is the second and final day of his Ghana visit. This is the first leg of his ongoing five-nation tour to Africa, the Caribbean, as well as South America.
That's right. Day one of PM Modi's visit was high on both substance and symbolism, with 4 packs exchanged on culture, standards, traditional medicine, and a joint commission mechanism for engagement between the foreign ministers of the two countries, and a number of other announcements were also made to take the partnership forward.
Yes, and the India-Ghana partnership has been elevated now to a comprehensive partnership, and Prime Minister Modi was also conferred with Ghana's national honour, the Officer of the Order of the Star of Ghana, by the President of Ghana.
That's right. A lot is in fact lined up for PM Modi's second and final day in Ghana today. Our correspondent will join us from the ground, and former ambassadors and experts will put the visit into perspective. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya, and with me is my colleague Gautam Roy.
Thank you, Munmun, and now let's get on with our special show.
So India and Ghana have agreed to elevate their relationship to a comprehensive partnership after Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with the President of Ghana, Dr. John Dramani Mahama.
Well, the two leaders discussed global issues of mutual interest, including UN reforms. 4 MOUs or Memoranda of Understanding in the fields of culture, standards, Ayurveda and traditional medicine, and joint commission mechanism for engagement between foreign ministers were also exchanged.
Tapas Bhattacharya, our correspondent, brings us this report from Accra, the capital city of Ghana.
India and Ghana on Wednesday elevated their ties to the level of a comprehensive partnership after Prime Minister Narendra Modi held wide-ranging talks with President John Dramani Mahama.
आज राष्ट्रपति जी और मैंने हमारी द्विपक्षीय साझेदारी को कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव पार्टनरशिप का रूप देने का निर्णय लिया है। घाना के राष्ट्र निर्माण की इस यात्रा में भारत केवल एक सहयोगी नहीं बल्कि एक सहयात्री है।
Both sides held discussions on a wide range of issues, from boosting bilateral trade and digital payment systems to maritime security and cyber security. In defense and security, the two nations pledged deeper collaboration guided by the principle of security through solidarity.
हमारा द्विपक्षीय व्यापार $3 बिलियन पार कर चुका है। भारतीय कंपनियों ने लगभग 900 प्रोजेक्ट्स में लगभग $2 बिलियन का निवेश किया है। आज हमने आपसी व्यापार को अगले 5 वर्षों में दोगुना करने का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया है।
4 key agreements were signed, paving the way for cooperation in diverse areas, including culture and traditional medicine.
The two sides have engaged in significant discussions to deepen cooperation across various sectors of our economy, including agriculture, energy, manufacturing, infrastructural development, human resources, and health, amongst others. On the strength of the successful engagements, we have had a number of memoranda of understanding have been signed between Ghana and India.
On global issues, both leaders agreed that terrorism is the enemy of humanity and resolved to strengthen mutual cooperation to combat the menace.
हम एक मत है कि आतंकवाद मानवता का दुश्मन है। आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हमारी लड़ाई में सहयोग के लिए हम गाना का आभार प्रकट करते हैं। इस संदर्भ में हमने काउंटर टेररिज्म में आपसी सहयोग को और मजबूत करने का निर्णय किया है। यूएन रिफॉर्म्स को लेकर हमारा दृष्टिकोण एक जैसा है। पश्चिम एशिया और यूरोप में चल रहे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को लेकर हम दोनों ने गहरी चिंता व्यक्त की है। हमारा मानना है कि यह युद्ध का युग नहीं है। डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी से ही समस्या का समाधान होना चाहिए।
Earlier upon his arrival, in a rare gesture, President John Mahama personally received him at the airport, a testament to the deep-rooted friendship between the two nations. Making the historic visit even more special, Prime Minister Modi was given a rousing welcome by the Indian community in Ghana.
With this landmark visit, India and Ghana have opened a new chapter of trust, technology, and teamwork, setting the tone for a stronger global South. With camera person Rakesh and Murmukar Sharma, this is Tapush Bhattacharya signing off from Accra, Ghana.
And another high point of the visit has been that Prime Minister Modi has been conferred with the national honor of Ghana, the Officer of the Order of the Star of Ghana, by Ghana's President in recognition of his distinguished statesmanship and influential global leadership.
That's right. Accepting the award on behalf of 1.4 billion Indians, PM dedicated the honour to the aspirations of the youth of India, its cultural traditions and diversity, and to the historical ties between Ghana and India.
Prime Minister Modi thanked the people and the government of Ghana for this special gesture.
राष्ट्रपति जी द्वारा गाना के राष्ट्रीय अवार्ड
You'll introduce the guest house.
द ऑफिसर ऑफ द ऑर्डर ऑफ द स्टार ऑफ गाना से सम्मानित किया जाना मेरे लिए अत्यंत गर्व और सम्मान की बात है। मैं राष्ट्रपति महामा जी, गाना सरकार और गाना के लोगों का हृदय से आभार प्रकट करता हूं। मैं इस सम्मान को 140 करोड़ भारतीयों की ओर से विनम्रता के साथ स्वीकार करता हूं। यह सम्मान मैं हमारे युवाओं की आकांक्षाओं को, उनके उज्जवल भविष्य को, हमारी समृद्ध सांस्कृतिक विविधता और परंपराओं को और भारत गाना के ऐतिहासिक संबंधों को समर्पित करता हूं।
And now let's get started with our analysis. Joining us now are Ruchita Berry, Senior Fellow with the Vivekananda International Foundation, and also Ashok Sajjanhar, former Indian Ambassador to Kazakhstan, Serbia and Latvia is also with us. Such a pleasure to have the two of you here on DD India on the special broadcast. Ms. Berry, I'll begin with you. How significant has the visit been so far to your mind, considering that there have been a lot of announcements in terms of statements of intent, for MOUs were exchanged and the relationship has been elevated to a comprehensive partnership?
Visit. This is a visit which is at the Prime Minister level taking place after 3 decades. So no wonder that the two sides have decided to enhance the partnership to a comprehensive partnership level. That's a big step. And the fact that President Mahama has shown interest in enhancing cooperation both in terms of economic and security spheres. In terms of economy, is very much interested in gaining India's support in enhancing or developing its agricultural sector so that Ghana can become a food basket in the region. And health sector is also one area where President Mahama has shown interest, because India, as you are well aware, is known as the pharma capital of the world. And so developing pharmaceuticals within Ghana, developing a vaccine hub in Ghana is something which the Ghanaian government is very much interested in, and they seek India's support in that. And the third important area is defense and security, where they've shown interest in buying our equipment, enhancing the training of the Ghanaian officers in our academies, that is sure. And most importantly, that they have a common view in terms of the security threats like terrorism. India, as you're well aware, has faced this drastic terror attack in Pahalgam, and Ghana is no stranger to terrorism. Its northern areas have faced terror attacks in recent years, and it is within this larger area of Sahel, which is really, facing a lot of rise in terrorism. So both India and Ghana are on the same frame of mind in terms of ending this menace of terrorism. So these are the salient points, and of course the fact that President Mahama was received, he received Prime Minister Modi personally, and then at the airport, and then conferred him with the highest national award of the country. This is something which is noteworthy and showcases the fact that for Ghana and the people of Ghana, India holds a very special place.
Certainly. Ambassador Sachin, if we were to talk from the Indian perspective in particular, how critical is this visit, considering that it at this level is taking place after a long time to a region of Africa where India's footprint has been in the past seen to be lacking and now undergoing rapid expansion? Is that how you see it?
No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Gautam, for having me. You're absolutely right. I think Africa has started occupying a very significant, very important place as far as Indian foreign policy is concerned. You know, this is obvious from the fact in terms of the number of high-level visits that have been taking place, whether it is by the president of the country, vice president, prime minister, external affairs minister. You know, all the 54 countries, they have been, our leadership has been crisscrossing and vice versa. So I think that really shows the importance that India attaches to relations. And even during the current visit also, the Prime Minister is traveling to two major countries, Ghana and the last one being Namibia. So that is important because Africa is growing. It is a ray of hope as far as the economic growth in the world is concerned. So definitely India would like to connect with it in a much stronger way. You know, over the last few years, we have added 18 more embassies to this region, you know, to Africa. And that also indicates the seriousness with which we take the relationship with Africa. You know, in addition to the other thing, because this is both in terms of reaching out to Africa, we've had 3 India-Africa Forum summits that have been organized so far. The last one was in 2015. President Mahama had led the Ghanaian delegation at that meeting also. And what I understand is that the 4th summit, meaning it should have been held after 5 years, that is somewhere around 2020-21, but you know, that was the time that the whole world was suffering from the pandemic, from COVID-19. But it is expected that, and after that, of course, it has been India's G20 presidency, it has been India's elections here. But I understand that the 4th India-Africa Forum Summit is going to be held soon. So I think this outreach to Africa is important. If I could also mention, Gautam, since I have the floor, that, you know, critical minerals is a very important area of cooperation and collaboration between India and Ghana, and it is going to be an equally important element of our partnership when the Prime Minister goes to Namibia. Of course, in Argentina and Brazil also, these are that is an important area of cooperation. But you know, as far as our trade is concerned, much of it is, you know, much of our gold that we import is from Ghana, and we've seen that, you know, even as far as the coastal region is concerned, it's known as you know, the Gold Coast. It is very well endowed. That is what President Mahama also said, that it is very well endowed with you know, critical minerals and rare earths. So I think that is definitely one area where both countries are going to collaborate. President Mahama has invited Indian businessmen, Indian entrepreneurs to come and invest. This is critical minerals are required by any country if it wants to go into the higher echelons of technology, whether it is space, defense, and other things. So that is a very important element. And the last thing I could say is, in terms of trade and in terms of the vaccines, those are other areas, significant areas on which discussions have been held and decisions taken. Double the trade in 5 years from $3 billion to more than $6 billion, and create a vaccine hub which will serve the purpose not only as far as Ghana is concerned, but of course of all of Western Africa.
Yes, and perhaps an upsurge in defense cooperation could also perhaps be seen, because that is again a subject that has been discussed. But do you think that it is more than a coincidence that the two countries that the Prime Minister is visiting on his longest ever foreign trip in 5 nations over the course of 9 days are both in West Africa, on the West African coast, and conventionally it's been a perspective that India has relatively not touched that side of Africa as much as it is, established links with the eastern side, which is, more littoral as far as the waters are concerned.
No, absolutely. I think you're very right, because, India's connect with Africa has basically been because of geographical proximity. It has been with the eastern coast of Africa. And that is why, even as far as our visits and the visits of Prime Minister also, it has been to Kenya, it has been to Tanzania, it has been to Mozambique, it has been to South Africa, and so on and so forth. And the western coast has remained largely unattended. Possibly I could even use the word, a little bit of neglect has taken place, but this is sought to be made up now with these 2 high-level visits. And I think this is definitely going to yield very significant results. You're very right, when you mention, Gautam, about defense, the defense cooperation and defense partnership, because both in the area of, whether it is in the area of training of defense personnel, and that is taking place here in a big way. Many of the Ghanaian defense officers, they come here to India for defense training. And of course, in terms of exercises, military exercises, that also I'm sure will be in the offing. And also in terms of export of defense equipment from India, because India is emerging as a significant partner.
We're getting some images right now of the Prime Minister paying tributes at a memorial in Accra.
Yes, so this is the Nkrumah's memorial, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is accompanied by the President of Ghana, Mr. Mahama.
Well, this is a memorial dedicated to the founding father, so to speak, and the first president of the Ghanaian nation, which was at that time Gold Coast. The nomenclature changed a little later, but this is where relations are being strengthened at the moment. A lot of history shared as far as colonial past is concerned between India and Ghana. Both had been at one time for long periods under British rule, so that's a common link that India and Ghana share, and these have brought us together through in the past as well, through the non-line movement, and now of course even closer ties.
Absolutely, there's a history that is extremely important to note here, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi laying a wreath in honor of Ghana's first president. Remember, Ghana's first president, Mr. Nkrumah, and his colleagues had, on the eve of Ghana's political independence, declared the country's freedom from British colonial rule. They had stood at the old polo grounds in Accra on the eve of Ghana's political independence to declare independence from British colonial rule.
And the lady accompanying Prime Minister Modi is Ghana's first woman vice president, whom the PM met yesterday, Vice President Jane Nana Opoku Agyemang. She has accompanied Prime Minister Modi to the Nkrumah Memorial.
Yes, Ms. Beri, coming to you, how would you define the historical significance of Prime Minister's visit to the memorial, which is dedicated to the first president of Ghana, who played a pivotal role as far as Ghana's independence from British colonial rule is concerned?
Yeah, I think this is very significant. This showcases the fact that India and Ghana were joined together in the anti-colonial struggle. India did support Ghana's anti-colonial struggle, and so they have this bonds of the common fight against colonialism, and India does respect the fact that that Ghana had struggled and then come forth and ended the colonial rule. So India and Ghana have faced similar challenges in terms of whether it is in terms of the colonial struggle or in terms of development struggle. So currently, I think the focus is on enhancing the development cooperation. And for India, Prime Minister Modi has specified a number of times that Africa is the highest priority in its economic and foreign policy. So Prime Minister Modi's presence in Ghana today at the memorial also signifies his he has been emphasizing that India and Africa share a common bond, and Africa is important for India in its foreign policy. So this reiterates his position on that count. And secondly, I think it's very important to understand that Ghana is a developing country, and it is in Africa where within the global south, and India has been championing for the global south. So South-South cooperation is something which brings India and Ghana together, and they would work together in terms of ending all the injustices that the global south countries have faced, including Ghana. And one of the important aspects of that is the representation in the United Nations Security Council or various multilateral fora where the developing countries, the countries from the global south, have been, kept away from. So both India and Ghana have been together in past in the fight against colonialism, and now for equal representation in the international fora.
Yes,
yes, and in fact, if I could ask you about this as well, Ambassador Sajjanhar, the way this brings India and Ghana together, where international institutions and organizations is concerned, do you feel that is something also which can serve as a force multiplier when these two nations work together?
No, absolutely. I think both of them are on the same page. We have similar histories, anti-colonial struggle. After that, of course, developing as third world countries. India, of course, has been able to perform much better. Unfortunately, Ghana has had to undergo very many conditionality programs of the IMF, and it has just emerged from there. It has emerged as a stronger economy, but it is looking forward to India to support, to have a greater economic engagement. And I think that is whether it is economic engagement or technology, or you had mentioned defense also, because security, peace and security is a sine qua non if there is going to be economic development. So their experiences are similar. In fact, India, even before Ghana became independent in 1957, India had been raising the voice and support for Ghanaian independence much before that in the United Nations and elsewhere. So I think that historical bond, emotional bond between the two countries is there. I also feel that there is a recognition that possibly, as far as China's move to in the form of its Belt and Road Initiative, it might be trying to spread itself wide, but it leaves, a rather unhappy taste in the mouth because of so many problems that become associated with it in terms of the debt trap, in terms of other challenges. There's a lot of corruption that is involved in many of these projects. There is no human resource capital built in the recipient country, in the host country. There is no employment of local people that is generated because all...
But that's been happening in Ghana as well, hasn't it? I mean, a lot of Chinese have come in and they're working there, building infrastructure. Of course, a lot of investment coming in, but not the kind of benefits that one would have thought accruing to Ghanaians themselves.
No, that's exactly the point that I'm making, because when India goes into a country and India offers its development cooperation model, it is basically responding to the needs and requirements and demands of the host country. It does not try to superimpose what is in its own interest, which unfortunately in the case of China, it happens. And we have sort of so many cases, whether it is in Southeast Asia, whether it is in Sri Lanka or elsewhere, that many of these projects, they are constructed because they benefit China in some way or the other. And then wittingly or unknowingly, these countries get into a debt trap. So I think these countries also feel much more secure, much safer, that their interests will be taken care of as far as these projects are concerned. And that is why I think even in the area of critical minerals, because although China has been able to capture much of the market, global market in many other countries, but here the Ghanaian authorities have invited Indian business, Indian entrepreneurs to come and invest, and both in terms of mining, exploiting and processing of these critical minerals. They want a partnership with India in that sense, which is going to be mutually beneficial, which is going to be a win-win proposition for both the sides. So I think there are a large number of elements that go in support of this partnership, India-Ghana, India-Africa and India-Global South partnership. So I think Ghana fits in very beautifully in all these three boxes, in all these three buckets. And of course, at the bilateral level, there is so much that can be done. The 4 agreements that have been signed, there have been discussions also in the economic field on UPI and DPI, how that can be transferred to that country. So I think so many such great potential.
Right, Ambassador. You are putting the visit in perspective. We are showing you currently visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, but the Prime Minister will now be addressing in a short while the Parliament of Ghana. And let's take that question now to Ms. Berry. Ms. Berry, we know that India is the world's largest democracy and Ghana is a stable democracy. An unlikely one in a region like Sahel, which is of course racked with a lot of problems like violent extremism and terrorism. So do you think that
political instability.
And political instability as well, though of course of late in the last few years there has been peaceful transfers of power in the last couple of decades, but before that we did see instability. So if you could put that into perspective for us, how crucial would Prime Minister's address in the Parliament of Ghana be?
You're right. This is a very important, step that India has taken, and which has been provided by Ghana, that Prime Minister is going to address the Ghanaian Parliament. That showcases the fact that democracy is very important. That showcases the fact that while there is a turn towards authoritarian rule, there is a turn towards the unofficial change of governments in terms of coups in the region, the larger Sahelian region, but Ghana is a beacon of democracy in the region, and India, being one of the largest democracy in the world, is the leader of our country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is going to address the parliament, that also underlies the fact that democratic rule is important. And also, we were talking earlier about how India's approach is different from, say, that of China. I think one way, China's approach to Africa has become complicated because of the fact that it's been identified with debt trap diplomacy. And also, his Prime Minister visit is happening at the time when the traditional donors to African countries, including Ghana, have decided not to enhance the trade, or in fact, like the U.S. President Trump has announced the withdrawal of U.S. aid to Africa and to countries like Ghana. So that provides an opportunity for India to enhance its engagement with Ghana in terms of development cooperation, because the countries like Ghana are looking for alternate partners. And India, the fact that it has, India and Ghana share common beliefs and common, values, and they've shared a long history of contact. So who better than India to take Ghana forward in its search for greater prosperity, greater economic well-being.
In fact, Ms. Berry, I'd like to ask you if there's more of a contrast to be drawn where the approach is concerned and the footprint of India and China are concerned, because as Ambassador Sajjanhar also mentioned, where critical minerals are concerned, if you look at it in a matter-of-fact way, perhaps China has more experience, it has more expertise in developing such an industry. But if you look at the approach that China has pursued in terms of how ecologically critical this activity is, particularly for a continent like Africa, again, India becomes perhaps more attractive.
Has followed this principle or policy of infrastructure in lieu of gaining control of the assets, the critical minerals, copper mines and other things, or procuring these equipment. But the fact of the matter is that most of the time it has not fulfilled its promises in terms of infrastructure development. So Indian model is that it puts the African priorities first, the priority of Ghana first, rather than that of India. And also it is a model which is consultative, which invites the views and the policies of the countries in Africa, whether it's Ghana or any other country, in forming this partnership. And thirdly, and most importantly, India's engagement builds local capacities. That is something which India has been emphasizing and has done that. If you remember, in the last decade, India had set up the India-Ghana Kofi Annan Center for ICT, which at that point of time, nobody else was doing this.
Right.
India offered the technology, it provided the training to the Ghanaians in the field of information and communication technology. So it has shared its own development experience with Ghana, and
right.
for which the Ghanaians are.
And do you feel that the fact that Prime Minister Modi has been a leader in India who also inaugurates what he initiates, lays foundation stones off, is not only strengthening India's creds within India but even outside?
Yes, that's true. That's true. And I think
I believe there's an audio disturbance
Yes.
there, but taking this forward with Ambassador, if you could take that question also, if you could tell us in terms of what Gautam asked, that Prime Minister not just makes announcements, he also lays the foundation stones and he inaugurates projects. Similarly, now we are seeing UPI being extended by India to various countries. In Singapore, it's been highly successful. France is one of the countries where India has rolled this out alongside the French government. And now Ghana is also very much part of that initiative. What are the challenges, Ambassador, that come in terms of implementation of, say, the UPI network? Because the MEA had earlier said that there are challenges in terms of implementation because there have to be technology synergies between India and the country that is implementing. And then there is the Pan-African online network also, or gateway, that Ghana is looking at as far as the UPI is concerned, or such payment gateways is concerned. So how do you look at this particular announcement as well?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think there are three questions in that. And the first is, in terms of what has been the track record as far as India is concerned. And, I remember when I was in service, and our experience was that, there used to be announcements of projects, announcements of some initiatives, announcements of action. And after that, and that is not only domestically, but also as far as, partnership and collaboration with other countries is concerned, in terms of, even simple things like delivering tractors, when there is countries in Africa want that. And, when the leadership, the delegation would come back, there would be no action on it. I think today what we see is that delivery has increased several fold. And, I think Prime Minister in that sense is hands-on. Not only, he says that I am not going to inaugurate any project unless I know what is the end line and when I will be able to, inaugurate the completion and dedicate it to the people after it is done. So I think both within the country and outside, and there are umpteen number of examples that we have, whether it is in the area of SARC satellite that we had launched, South Asian satellite, projects in Afghanistan, for instance, that had been languishing not for years but for decades. Whether it was the construction of the Salma Dam, it was the construction of the Parliament building, Atal Parliament building there in Afghanistan, or so many others. So I think India's track record in that sense has improved very significantly, and that has increased, enhanced the credibility and the trust factor as far as India is concerned. Coming to the UPI that you mentioned, I think that is basically in terms of, as far as India's technology is concerned, we are quite advanced. We have made a lot of headway. So, if we have promised, and there is interest in the world, that as far as UPI and, the digital payment infrastructure, because it has so many advantages. I think the world has recognized, today half of the UPI transactions real time in the world take place in India. So which means, it is not only the speed with which they travel, it takes care, there is no corruption that is involved, it is moving, there's no middle individuals, persons involved. So I think it has so many benefits and advantages. And in that sense, so many countries would like to take, advantage of it and benefit from this. But of course, there has to be the transfer of technology. There has to be appropriate technology, wherever you go, as far as power supply is concerned, as far as voltage stability is concerned, as far as, it's not as Secretary E.R. Damu Ravi said that, it's not a box that you take from one place and install it in the other place and it is done. So I think it is a process, and in many countries it has been quite successful. As Munmun, you said that in Singapore it's been very successful because Singapore is also an technologically advanced economy. So I think that is definitely something that has happened in France also, you mentioned. So I think slowly and gradually, it is not an overnight process.
I guess sort of enabling is required there, where perhaps India could